it's after 4:30.
Okay. Well, today's mission is to jump through the state hoop of satisfying a requirement.
Right.
That because we took state and public funds to increase our security, we have 4 things we have to do by January 1st.
Okay.
And this meeting will satisfy all 4 things. So
Oh.
let me just go through the 4 things that we're required to do every year. So there's not a whole lot of things that are new from the year before or the year before, but we do have new people on the board. So I want to make sure that we do have enough time to go into whatever questions you might have. But Wisconsin Act 143 was 2017. And so by January 2019 and before each January thereafter, every school board and governing body of a private school must also file the following information with the Office of School Safety. 1 is a copy of the school safety plan, including the most recent date on which the school board or governing body reviewed and approved the school safety plan. So we'll put in today's date
Okay.
that will satisfy
We're
that
reviewing it,
requirement. Yep.
Well, it has to be approved by, we may.
Yeah,
have a-
I'm sorry, you'll bring it to the board
We
on
may have a
Tuesday.
motion to bring it to the board.
Right, I'm sorry, yes, that's correct. And then 2, the date required by the school violence drill during the previous year, including certification of the school board or governing body that reviewed required written evaluation. See example under school safety drills and resources. The most recent school safety training plan, and then the most recent data in which the school board consulted with local law enforcement agency to conduct required on-site assessments. They call it assessments. Our document says audit,
Okay.
and that's every 3 years.
Okay.
We do above and beyond. We evaluate, and in that packet there is a 3-year rotating schedule. We do it internally every year for every building, and then every 3 years the fire and police do it with us.
Okay.
And so every 3 years we have a rotation schedule that satisfies that bullet point number 4. So 1, I want to make this aware that this is not a public document. It's kind of like the keys to your house. This is the keys to our safety plan. We do acknowledge that where there's certain things that we don't want
Yeah, you don't
to
want.
share
Yeah.
with everything.
Yeah.
But we do share a lot of that stuff with the parents and with our kids, of course, when we do our drills. But there's certain elements of here that we try not to make public, but we make a lot of it. And so there's 4 bullet points that I'm going to go over to kind of describe to you how do we do school safety. First things is that if you think of a bicycle tire with all these spokes, think of that as school safety. And there's so many spokes to school safety. I get involved with a lot of them, and Michael gets involved with some of them. We have like workers' comp, that's school safety. There's crisis planning. There's OSHA type of regulations within, for us, it's the DSPS. So the school safety is so encompassing. Not just one person does it, but what we're focusing right now is these drills that we do in the schools for the students to know what to do, when to do them, and our staff to know what to do and when to do them. So the key thing that we do to where it says we have to have dates and times of our drills, that falls on the principal. And the principals, the way the district supports them is we give them a safety operations calendar. And that calendar goes month by month. And it goes through all of the things that all of the school buildings are going to do. One of these responses, it could be a hold, it could be an evacuation, it could be a secure. So that is the recipe for the principals to look at what are we doing this month? And that they get to fill in their log and they say how many students were involved with this drill, how many staff. And there's a lot of times where they have to call like maybe the police department. We had something several weeks ago where there was something happening and several of our schools went into the hold. Yeah,
one went into.
it was a secure.
Yeah.
So they locked the doors, didn't let anybody in or out, and they continued business as usual because there was a threat outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we do those things, and while that will satisfy as a drill, so sometimes we have like live drills and like a fire drill. We do just a simulation and we do a fire drill. So some of them are actual live things because it happens. Sometimes we have a medical emergency in the building and they call a hold, which means all the students stay in the hallway so we can address whatever might be happening in the building and not have a bunch of people in the hallways when the bell rings. So the principals will document any of those times that those things happen too, because it's
real incidents count as.
Yeah,
as a drill.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Real incidents. Yep. That's
And
exactly
also,
right.
I have a question. No, once they happen during the day, they always send out a notification to parents, letting them know that that's what happened. Who's in charge of doing that?
Well, I don't know that they send it out every time, like if it's a hold, and someone fainted in the hallway. I don't think there's a message that goes out to this, but if it's something more significant,
Like a secure.
yes, the principals and Michael Morgan get together and we do have templates for what we've done in the past so that they don't have to spend hours trying to craft a document or a letter that goes out. And so they do have tools in our
Like you send it out in a text too sometimes.
Right.
Whatever, but
Infinite
who's in
Campus.
charge of hitting that button to send that out is what I'd like to know. Is it the principals or is it Michael Moore?
I don't know. is
Well,
my
I think it's
official
the
answer, 'cause
principals mostly.
Infinite Campus gets pushed out by central
I mean,
office.
that's who signs it.
So I think central office is always included in something that's going on in the building. We work in concert.
I just want to know because they had that incident that was a few weeks ago that they had a secure. They sent out a warning, not a warning, but they sent out a notification to parents
Right.
at 6 something in the evening after their kids have already been home. And I had a couple of people say something. Do you think they should let us know like earlier? So that way we can be ready for those things when our kids come home. I'm like, you know what? I don't know exactly who's in charge of sending that out, but I'll find out.
Sure. I can certainly follow back up with you. And that's part of the logistics that I don't get too involved with. Michael certainly authors a lot of things. Let me write that down because that would be a good, it's certainly a legitimate question as to the timing. I know that we're just as concerned as resolving the issue in the building as we are trying to get the message out.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know how that timing works, but
No, I understand, but they sent me a picture of a timestamp. It was like 6:18 in the afternoon.
Sure. In the evening, yeah.
They showed you, they sent you what?
A picture of the text that was sent out.
Oh, okay.
I actually didn't get it because my kid didn't go to that school.
Okay.
But yeah, it was after 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's something that happened earlier in the day.
Okay.
And their kids had already been home already asking questions or doing whatever, and we, heard what this one particular person has autistic children and,
Mm-hmm.
freak out on certain situations like that. So
Of course. Yeah.
she was just concerned that maybe it could be a little bit more, at least before the kids get home, so they're able to answer questions right off the bat and keep them calm.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any information to speak specifically about that, with the timeliness of the messages, but I'll let Michael know that there's and that was that the last incident we had that affected some buildings. I think it was actually a Ron Colley thing that happened, and we had Stango and
This came out of Monroe. I can't remember what it was, but I believe it was a secure that said on there.
okay. Yeah, Well, thanks for that.
Sure.
I'll have him follow up. So the safety operations calendars go through each month of the school year. And they'll have a scenario that they'll train the staff in and talk about. Each month will focus on one specific process. Like in September, it was a hold, and there was a scenario there, and they did their evacuation for the drill for fire drill because that's required. I think it's 8 times out of 9 months. They give us one.
Wow, really?
I think they give us one mulligan because of cold weather.
Wow.
Madison Square.
So each principal reads, and then we've got it really segregated out so the principals know what they need to do, select a date for the drill and review it with staff. And then share parent communications about the standard response protocol. So the parents are part of the communication tree. And then they share a student script, so they tell the kids, what goes on. And then they plan to conduct the actual drill. And there's district things in here as well with what kinds of things the district does in support of them. I brought the kit that I have in my office here for our and the big boxes if we have to do a reunification at UWGB Manitowoc campus. There's a bunch of vests in there, there's flip charts in there, there's assignments, there's different color vests for different people doing different things. And so that we've got 2 of those. One is at the UWGB campus and one is here. So we duplicated in case.
Doing what? What do you do?
If we have to, say we have a fire at a building
Okay.
or a gas leak and it's not been cleared, so we're not gonna go back in the building
Yep.
anytime soon. And let's say we can't go to Lutheran for we would get our kids to the UWGB campus,
Okay, yeah.
and that's our standard reunification. And the buses would go there.
Okay.
Law enforcement would be there to help direct traffic.
Okay. Okay.
And then we have a whole process of checking in parents. The parents would go to a certain part of the building. Matt comes there and says, I'm here for so-and-so. You would sign a card. We get the card so we know what kid left with what adult. And it's quite elaborate. And so we've not done that live with kids, but we did it with our staff.
Oh, wow.
So they did a walkthrough a couple of years ago. We're gonna redo that. It takes a lot of coordination with police and DPW. If the city gets involved, they put up barricades. It would take something very special for us to not release the kids to the parents at our school building.
Yeah.
But if that were to need to be happening, if we're forced to do that, we have a mechanism for that. Any questions on the safety operation calendar? That does satisfy many of the bullet points that we need to do, where the drills are documented. There's feedback from staff and
So does Michael get a report from each principal that schedules something?
it's on a Google shared thing, so
Okay.
I can look and see.
Okay.
And the other thing, which is kind of nice too, is that the other principals can see what the other principals are doing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so if you're the last one to have to do it, there's a little bit of self-induced pressure to make sure that I'm keeping up with the rest of my colleagues doing the safety protocols with the operations calendar.
Sure.
So, but it's a very great tool because they can see what's going on month to month and plan for it. And we can also then talk about with them, what things are you having right now that you're concerned about with this drill? They might have some new students with mobility issues,
Oh,
and things of that nature. But so it does help to have that, multiple person approach. The thing that we like best about the I Love You Guys is it's an all hazards approach. It's not just geared to one thing.
Yeah.
So, we have Speak Up and Speak Out, SUSO. And that was we formalized it this past year. And they are, the SROs go through the school and they talk to the children about the Speak Up, Speak Out, and it's a tip line. It's not really, it's similar to Crime Stoppers, but there's no funding for tips and, rewards or anything like that. Right now it's geared towards 6 through 12.
Okay.
There's many reasons for that, but this is a statewide initiative through the Department of Justice and the Office of School Safety. So we formalized that this year. And then the critical incident response template, and that is one of the things that, here's my note here. I don't know what you think of when you see critical incident. A lot of people think about in their mind like the school shooter. But the all hazards is what I want you to understand, that this is what's nice about this program is it could be a gas leak and it could be not as doom and gloom as some of the critical incident could be. It could be a fire. We had a gas main that we hit with, we're putting in some equipment at Franklin. Diggers Hotline came and marked it. We punched our hole in the dirt for the basketball pole to go into, and we hit a main. And that wafted into the building. So Franklin evacuated.
Yeah.
And so, so things can happen.
Yeah.
That's not in a nature that we're going to have national news here covering a tragic incident. And so all of those kinds of incidents could happen, major and minor. And then we've got tools in there, and one of which that I know Michael's very proud of is that they've archived all of the different responses and letters that went out to parents. It could be a loss of a student. It could be a loss of a teacher. That we hear that all the time. It could be a bus accident. So those types of things also can fit into this all hazards approach. So that incident command or critical incident response template helps our people to be able to see what is the incident and then try to figure out from the templates that we use in the past, what do we do? How many people did we need? How many people do we need now? Do we need emergency management, or do we need the DPW? Do we need, at that point in time, we needed Manitowoc Public Utilities to come out and help us with the gas. So any questions on some of those things?
I have a question. Maybe I should refer this to Michael more because I don't want to go public with, kind of.
With some of the more sensitive
Yeah,
things, sure.
So that's why I probably won't mention it now. I just have a couple scenarios
Okay,
and issues that maybe he can clarify privately. So if you could have him contact me.
okay, sure,
'Cause, I don't want to publicly speak about it.
sure.
It's
Yeah,
just safety concerns
yeah, yeah, sure, that's no problem.
that
Thank
would be
you.
applied within the system probably. So.
Okay. I will email both you and him.
Sure.
So he knows you guys can talk, and then you can figure out if you want to come in person or
Sure.
phone call, or however you want to.
Because I think the question probably should be directed to him. He's our safety.
Yeah, he probably knows the details of the logistics of how that would happen. I know the overarching things. He works with the details on a weekly and monthly basis.
Maybe I can ask you one part of it.
Sure.
Who authorizes the Who authorizes the hold, the secure, the lockdown? Who is the authorizing agent besides the principal? That's my first question.
Oh,
At that facility.
we encourage anybody in the building that if they see something that they need to do, that the staff know how to get on the phone and make a page and call it themselves.
So anybody is authorized, any employee or
Yeah,
is authorized
like a teacher,
to call for a hold or call for
right.
over the PA?
And I do acknowledge that not all of our buildings are set up to pick up a phone and dial certain digits and then make an all call over the PA. Our buildings have different technology that either helps us do that or doesn't have us do that. So
So in the video, nobody is identifying themselves as the principal or the security person or a teacher. So you're telling me though that anybody that goes over the PA can authorize one of the 4 options?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yeah,
So that's what,
like a secretary could.
thank you. Yep.
Yeah, if a principal is at an all admin meeting here in central office.
Yep.
Yep,
I believe he kind of addressed it in the video a little bit too, and his explanation was the fact that even if it wasn't real, or even if they made a mistake, or even if they said it was the fluffy
the
white
fluffy
dog
white dog on the playground.
Yeah,
Yeah,
practiced it, so no harm, no foul.
yeah,
Call it.
and I can speak quietly or privately to Mr. Michael, but there's a scenario that would hurt us.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to.
sure.
Yeah.
I will say this too, if it is a secure or if it's a lockdown, especially the lockdown, which means it's a threat in the building, they're not releasing on an all call. I think it would be rare if they released on an all call, because that the scenarios that I've been involved in, that means that we're going to clear the building and you would have a person with a key opening the door with a person of law enforcement saying, come on out.
Sure, that's a good,
So you can call it easier than you can release it.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information.
Sure. So thank you for that. Two things that I wanted to mention that no matter how hard I try to convince Michael to stay on for a couple more years, this is his last year.
Oh, yeah.
And he is continuing his work with the DOJ. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but he's been asked to be on the Wisconsin Department of Justice Office of School Safety Critical Incident Response Team. There's 12 of those in the state. They've been trained by the state. And if there is an incident of significance, this team would go and help provide support to a school. And there's 12 of these teams throughout the state regionally so they can respond. So we're very proud that he's been asked to serve on that. He's got a very unique blend of law enforcement plus the mental health and school guidance.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, talk about an awesome combo of personality and understanding protocols and safety and law enforcement. He brings this street credibility when we talk to the police chief or one of the assistants or, those type of things. They know he's law enforcement, so there's kind of a immediate understanding of incident command and how that works when there is something that's going down. So
In other words, it's impossible to replace, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll try our best. The other
So what
thing,
kind of people
I'm sorry.
what kind of people do you consider for a position like that?
Well, this morning I asked Michael when he's going to the Wisconsin Association of School Guidance Counselors to find out if there's someone there that, would be interested in doing what he's doing, plus the safety piece or this type of safety piece. There might be someone that says, yeah, I'd love to do a little bit something different, a little bit challenging, and still be in tune with the guidance counseling part of it or the mental health part of it.
Sure.
Cause yeah, trying to find that unique blend of
Wow.
attributes in one person
Yeah.
is not, I don't think is gonna be super easy.
We might also look at some, redesign stuff,
Someone.
like redesigning some, ways to go about this. I like putting a lot of the safety issues, with the facilities like it has been, but possibly looking in terms of whether or not a school psychologist might be more valuable where you still coordinate, things like this,
Yeah,
the service.
sure.
So there's different ways that you can look at it too.
Oh,
Because Michael really did define the position.
yeah.
Because he brings a unique
Really?
skills versus, what would you do in need? Sometimes individuals can do that. So there's some different ways we can look at this too.
The other thing that Michael is gonna continue to be involved in, again, with the Department of Justice Office of School Safety. He's on the advisory, he's a member of the advisory board. So they meet quarterly, virtually, and talk over different things on the state level, the Department of Justice level of what is the Office of School Safety, needing to do, needing to promote, whatever topics they might have. He's a voice for this area and region, and we're awfully proud of him for being acknowledged on that as well. So,
Well, none of those things pay the rent, but I'm sure he's gonna retire.
Yes.
yeah. Yep. So, those were the key parts that I wanted to address and identify without getting too deep in the weeds with how the, inner workings of this work. That we do have, the safety operations calendar is sort of the meat and potatoes to make sure all the buildings are in concert together, doing drills the same month, the same theme, and they all work out their particulars. Lincoln has different things that Monroe doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah.
So it's very, this is the same sheet of music that everyone's looking at, so we can make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then we have a district safety team meeting. It's not every month, it's pretty close.
Okay.
Like May is a short month and it's very busy. We typically skip May because everyone's focused on the end of the school year, and December is a little tough because it's got a week and a half or so of exams and things of that nature. So we do meet almost monthly as a district safety team as well. The schools have their monthly meetings after ours. So,
Is there anything that's a flag at all that may need to be tinkered with or
well,
adjusted in ways, or any kind of new developments that the plan hasn't anticipated?
Nothing comes to mind. There might be some nuances that Michael might have. I think in terms more of some of our facilities have some things like, the best practice is to have visitors be kind of directed or corralled right to the school office and not beyond. At Lincoln High School, we can't do that without building modification because we have the stairwell.
Yeah.
And we can't isolate off the stairwell because of fire code. So there's some things that are just the configuration of our buildings doesn't always lend itself to what today's standard of visitor security is.
Right.
Back then, when they built that building, that wasn't something that they thought about. So, but I don't have anything that I would say that we have something that we're looking at. Well, I guess I take that back. There is one thing that we've always tried to figure out: what is the best way? How do we do this? And that is what I call the nomads, the nomadic teachers, nomadic staff. I'm a nomad. I could go to any building at any point in time.
Yeah.
And how do they reach me when I might be going into 3 different buildings today?
Yeah.
And how am I alerted to not go to that building because there's something going on? We have IT people that are nomads as well. We have teachers that go from
Sure.
building to building. There might be math or music,
Yeah.
PE, those type of things. We have, Corey Erlinson might have a meeting at Washington, and him and Lance are getting together.
Yeah.
So we do have a fair number of my maintenance staff are constantly working on the buildings. So that group of people that go to building, that's always been one of those things that are hard to manage and make sure you get to. So IT is working on it with Michael, and he's got some ideas that we've been kicking around with Infinite Campus and text messaging and things of that nature. So
I brought it up a few meetings ago as well about what the healthcare industry does with tracking employees. I kind of brought it up lightly, but that's something that, we should look into. Because then you can have them sign in and sign out at a location when they get there. So then you know where they are, and the district can notify them if they're moving somewhere else or their cell phones. But that would be a part of that piece.
Give me an example of that.
The healthcare industry uses it. So if you have traveling nurses, it's commonplace that when you get to a facility, check in and we timestamp in
Okay.
for your employment, for your pay,
Yep, yep.
and as well as they have a tracking device. So if the director would like to know where they are, they can instantly find out where they are. Exactly.
Okay.
So
yeah, we do sign in and sign out now. That change has been implemented this year. But part of it is maybe we don't want them to even get to that building.
Yeah.
So that
yeah.
so
How
that
do you intercept
so
that?
that intercept is a good word. Thank you. So that's the piece that we're looking at is don't go to that building. The guys that mow lawn, they're out there and trying to get a hold of them or stop them from saying, hey, there's something going down at the Quick Trip and that neighborhood is, they've locked the school down, don't go there.
Yeah.
So do we have radios or do we have cell phones?
We have radios and I try the radios and I'd say I can get through to my staff probably 80 to 85% of the time. If they're on their lawnmower, they're not hearing it. So I mean, there's certain, and it's not a fail safe. So we have 2 repeaters besides the main tower in the city. One's at Wilson and one's at Lincoln, I believe.
So if they're cutting grass, maybe they have headphones and then they have their phones, you Bluetooth to the headphone. Maybe there's a notification that goes through their headphones that they hear that there's a notification that you shouldn't be in a facility, something like that.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we're working on all the different options to see what's the best way to, a nurse would be rather easy to get a hold of on the cell phone.
Okay.
So everyone's got a little bit of a different thing that we're trying to find an approach that would catch everybody.
So the business of this committee then would be to recommend maintaining the current, approving and maintaining.
Approving of the existing district safety plan and sending this on to the state.
Okay. Would they would receive the same material as we received
Yes,
to review before?
yeah. I'm not exactly sure what the packet looks like, but I know that this is the main body. of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that you're approving the 2022-23 district safety plan and to submit that to the state for their records.
Okay, before there's any motion, are there any more questions or concerns?
No.
Right, is there,
Are these, well, I wanted to know, the hyperlinks that are in this document, are these active for who? Like at the state level or no?
I don't believe they get an electronic copy. I'm not 100% sure. I think they might get an electric copy, and if they do, then they are live.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael would be able to tell you that for sure. I'm sorry, I don't.
And then I noticed in here, it says, let me try to find the page here. Manitowoc Public School building audit schedule, and it says it's just an example. Do we have a building audit schedule that we send to them? It's a real one and
Yeah,
not
it's
just
a
an
real one.
example?
That's one of those things where we,
Okay.
yep.
So could Michael be present at the board meeting next Tuesday, in case there are questions or concerns?
I'll let him know. I believe he'd make himself available. I can't speak for him for sure, but
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
of course, yeah.
And I won't be at the next board meeting.
Okay.
I'm gonna get these minutes to Lori tomorrow.
Okay.
But I'll be on vacation tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday.
Oh, good for you. Okay, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Yeah.
All right. All right, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye?
Alright,
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay.
Very good, thank you. That's all I have. And that's all we have on the agenda. We have plenty of time for the executive committee to,
motion to adjourn?
Okay, all those in favor of the adjourn? Aye.
Aye, and he
Aye.
seconded. Okay.
thank you, guys.
Of the adjourn?
Yeah, the adjourn.
All right.